Okay, so there's a huge shift happening with XRP right now, and it's being driven by some serious institutional demand. But what does that actually mean for the rest of us? Today, we're diving into something called the XRP flywheel effect. What it is, why it's picking up steam, and most importantly, how you can go from just watching on the sidelines to being an active player in the game. Let's get right into it.
And that really gets to the big question, right? If you've been wondering how to accumulate XRP without spending thousands of dollars buying it on exchanges, stay tuned. We'll show you how our system lets regular XRP participants do exactly that.
All right, first things first, let's zoom out and look at the big picture here. To really get where XRP is going, you first have to understand the massive, multi-trillion-dollar problem it was built to solve in our global financial system.
Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse really puts the sheer scale of this problem into perspective. He said, and I quote, "You have literally $10 trillion pre-funded into other banks, into other financial institutions. It's the oil in the engine that allows correspondent banking to work." I mean, that is a mind-boggling amount of capital just sitting there, totally locked up and inefficient.
And you can really see the difference here, side by side. The old way, the SWIFT system, is slow. We're talking days to settle. It's expensive, and it's the reason that $10 trillion is just trapped. Now compare that to the new way with the XRP ledger. Payments settle in 3 to 5 seconds for a tiny fraction of a penny. This frees up all that capital and just makes the entire global economy run so much smoother.
And that kind of efficiency, well, it's turning some major heads, which brings us to what's being called the flywheel effect. And look, this isn't just some theory. It's a real feedback loop that's already starting to flip the script on supply and demand for XRP.
Okay, so what is the XRP flywheel effect? Let's break it down. It's basically a feedback loop. It starts with big institutions adopting XRP for real-world uses, which shrinks the amount of XRP available on the open market. This scarcity means that every new dollar of demand has a much bigger impact on the price, which, you guessed it, attracts even more institutions. It's a cycle that feeds itself.
And this is not hypothetical. The flywheel is already spinning. Just as one example, regulated ETF products have already snapped up nearly 800 million XRP in just the first 6 weeks of this year. And that's XRP being pulled right off the market and locked away for the long term, directly squeezing the available supply.
So this whole thing doesn't just happen overnight. It builds in stages, kind of like a domino effect. First, you get the ETF inflows, which we're seeing right now. That leads to exchange reserves drying up. Next up, real utility, like payment corridors using Ripple's new stablecoin, starts ramping up demand. Then, new compliance tools make it easier for the really big, cautious institutions to jump in. And finally, those banks and asset managers start their own custody solutions, locking up even more supply and completing that flywheel.
Okay, so we see Wall Street building its massive flywheel, but where do we fit into all this? How does a regular person not just watch this from the sidelines, but actually get involved and build their own momentum?
Yeah, exactly. This is all great for the big guys, but what does it really mean for you? How can you actually participate in a meaningful way that goes beyond just buying some XRP on an exchange and hoping the price goes up?
Well, this is where a really cool opportunity opens up. You see, as institutions become these massive liquidity providers for the whole network, a new role is emerging for individuals, becoming a sort of community liquidity node. This is all about actively participating in the ecosystem's growth, and platforms like the xrptipteam are designed for exactly this, letting you help the network grow by sharing your knowledge.
And this is a totally different mindset, you know? It's about accumulating through participation, not just speculation. The whole idea is that the system should handle all the complicated blockchain stuff for you. This clarity is perfect. You just share your link, and the app handles all the blockchain choreography. It's about building infinite tip streams through education, not trying to time trade.
All right, so let's finally answer that big question we asked at the very beginning. How can you accumulate XRP without just buying it all on an exchange? Here's how it works.
Getting started is actually super simple, and it all begins with the most important principle in crypto: self-custody. The process is straightforward. You set up your own secure, personal XMint wallet, which gives you total control over your assets. Once you fund it with just a little bit of XRP, you can connect to networks that are built for active participation.
And this is where the concept gets really, really powerful. They call it the infinite tip chain. So think about it like this. When you help someone else get set up with their own self-custody wallet and they join the network, you've created a connection. The system is designed so that when they go on to help others, a small tip automatically flows back to you. It's a way of rewarding you for helping grow the network of active users. It creates this ripple effect that can extend out, building these endless streams of tips that reward your contribution.
So remember that question from the beginning? How do you accumulate XRP without buying thousands of dollars of it on exchanges? Our system at xrptipteam makes it simple. Get your free XMAN wallet, create your position, share your link, and the app handles everything. You'll get Telegram alerts anytime XRP tips flow into your wallet. That's how regular participants become tip liquidity nodes in the infinite chain tip economy. You can learn more at xrptipteam.com.